Welcome to another episode of the Bhandwagon Podcast, and today I'm joined by, and I'll kind of describe it in a new way. This podcast is not just only for people who I always want to interview and do that, but also a platform that I kind of see people with that I'm always interested into. I've been a new artist in no matter what kind of art genre or form that they're in, and based on that criteria, the guest today is Mr. Beant Singh. Welcome to the Bhandwagon Podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. Really appreciate it, man.
That's cool. That's cool. While I was doing that introduction, what's the best way you would describe yourself?
Oh, I could do. Like, I don't know, man. There's so many different things that I enjoy and I like to kind of dabble into. That at the moment, right now, probably the best way that I'd like to be known as is the musician, is the artist. But I do make TikToks on Punjabi and Sikh history. I also, have kind of a professional life, which is different. Yeah, we'll go with musician for now.
Yeah. No, that's good because because the way that I kind of saw it was like it was artist with the spoken word. Because you're a rapper, you've done some poetry within your EP, which I will come on to. And then I saw you almost kind of a vlogger, almost podcasting vibes as well at the same time. So I just thought, for me to try and put you in one bit, like us all, we're not just one thing. We're an accumulation of various experiences and kind of our interest in that. So that's why I wanted to hear how you would express yourself within it.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think everyone's multifaceted, and I think back in the day you'd have more of a pigeonhole made out for you, where the industry or whoever it may be, audiences aren't as aware that people have multiple interests. Whereas now that kind of multi-hyphenated individual artist is quite ubiquitous in a way. You got Pharrell Williams, who just done Louis V show. He's one of the GOAT producers as well. ASAP Rocky, another great rapper who also is in fashion and things like that. So yeah, and I'd agree with you. A lot of people are getting that kind of spoken word, and I think that's because it's on slower beats. But in terms of the music side, I would say definitely a hip hop artist with hopefully other genres that we're going to explore in music. That's on its way.
Yeah, I wouldn't describe spoken word as like your style. I think the spoken word was because of how when you do your videos, the way you explain it is like there is a different kind of skill of looking into a camera or kind of narrating it in a different kind of way as well. And especially the way how you kind of talk is very relaxing in some ways. Is you know what I mean? Because it ain't like the Handsworth kind of slang or Birmingham kind of accent that I've got. I always find the youth today, their slang is, and the way that they talk is more kind of universal with little I don't know how to kind of explain it, but with the certain mannerisms and the way that they bring it in, it always brings cultures. It's brought the cultures together. Because I remember you could always tell when another opera at my age was an opera, because you could just tell just the way that they kind of speak, and different cultures would kind of hang around with it. But nowadays, the way that everyone speaks, I find it difficult to differentiate between cultures with it.
No, I totally agree, because you've got like Mist talking about Apnaya, Galas, Godas, all of that. You know what I mean? And yeah, growing up with the internet, I guess, which is a weird thing to say, because I do feel like I was a little bit pre the internet, but especially with Dissy parents, innit? Because we didn't have Wi-Fi until like all my Gaude friends had it like way before.
Dial up, man. I was on. I think who's your first internet provider? That will tell me.
So we had internet in the yard dial up when I was like 4. Then Dad got rid of it. I'm pretty certain. Then when I was like, I don't know, to be honest.
AOL, man.
XYZEL or something on the GTB thing.
Oh, was it? I had AOL.
Yeah.
And then you couldn't use the phone at the same time.
Yeah, I don't remember that, because I was born 2000. But yeah, that rings a bell to people telling me, oh, that's what it used to be, innit?
Yeah, it used to be what. It's like, even when you say 2000, like September 11th was like you were 1 year old, and it.
No. Oh yeah, I was, yes.
Yeah. So it's
Sorry,
like
I got confused. Yeah.
it's just
Man,
like
man.
little kind of moments in time, like landmarks in time where you realize and when you're discussing it. So sometimes I hate interviewing like or speaking to younger people because they really age you really quick. And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh man, I don't know what to say to you anymore. I'll
Am
just
I the
say
youngest
old and
you've had
grumpy,
on the?
man. That's the best way.
Am I the youngest guy you've had on the podcast?
I mean, AS, how old AS?
He's big bro to me anyway. He's a year older than me, but in many other ways, he's big bro in it. His musical knowledge and
I don't
he
know.
went to Cambridge in it.
So how old you gotta be careful now because when you become an artist, everyone lies about their age. So this could be the only one where you kind of legitly give it.
22.
Yeah, I was gonna say because you already gave it away with
Giving it away.
the
Yeah,
yeah.
I shouldn't have done that. I think the daddy probably gives it away that I'm not 18.
Yeah, well, you just stick to 22 and it always be 25, 27.
To you guys.
Yeah, you'll be surprised at some of the newer artists that have just come out who recently exploded.
Yeah.
They're in the 30s, man. Trust me.
I've seen that, and yeah, that kind of it's good to know. I think Kendrick started Good Kid, Mad City dropped when he was about 26, 27.
I'm talking in the Desi scene.
In the Desi scene,
Yeah.
we'll talk about names after.
Yeah. Okay. I just want to like you came from Leamington, you studied law degree, you've done quite a lot of stuff. Where does what does the beginning look like for you? How do you get into this position?
So growing up in terms of musically, I was really lucky. I was lucky. Mum and dad kept my gears, took us to the Gurdwara. I started tabla, and I think one of the best opportunities I had growing up was locally. There's one of my uncles, Bao, who put on Dilruba classes from Birmingham. We had a teacher, Anoop Singh, who would come down and teach us Dilruba, which is like that old, you know, classical style. Now I'm no good at that. I was a terrible student, and I should have kept up with it more. I don't want to sit here and say I'm good or anything, but I got exposed to it to a degree, and they were really good teachers there. Also learned a little bit of Geet and things like that. But alongside that, I kind of had, in the house. So you talk about Desi parents and stuff. Some ways my parents are so Punjabi. Other ways, dad was working on Bruce Springsteen and all this. I wasn't growing up on Gurdas Man, Kuldeep Man. That came for me when I was doing my own research when I was like 14, 15 and stuff like that. So I've I think I've had a really eclectic upbringing, and at the same time, dad was proper on the politics side. So where we have kind of conversations about shaheeds within that context, we're talking about also Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, or other revolutionary leaders that my dad can just list off like this. His history knowledge is crazy, and even recent kind of history, Ricky Reel and things like that, and Blair Peach. I remember hearing that name maybe when I was 4 or 5 years old, and dad always had the news on and stuff, and mum would play the 80s tunes as well. So I think there's just a lot going on that I never really appreciated until I left the nest or I started talking to my boys, my teens. That really has kind of influenced the way I see the world, because I do feel like a bit.
I could kind of echo into some of those things. My mom, she was born in India but came over when she was young. But I always remember her CD collection being the Eagles, Madonna, Fleetwood Mac, first vinyl was Off the Wall, Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
So I have that kind of experience from it. When my dad was more into UK Bhangra, and knew quite a lot of connections through football, etc. So, but I always found myself kind of the odd one out when I used to speak with my peers because they were, let's say, more kind of mainstream or kind of the more accepted route into UK Bhangra and that. And so when I used to sing to them, Bread and Guitar Man or anything like that, I swear, what they said, what the fuck are you singing? You know what I mean? Were you in a similar situation with your mates or anything?
No, because like growing up, I'm from Leamington, so there's a lot of Gori around as well as a lot of Apne.
And is the unofficial, just at that point, the unofficial mayor of Leamington is Kaka Mohanwalia, right?
That's the goat, man. Kaka actually shot one of my videos a few years back, and has been supportive quite a lot through my kind of early journey. Yeah.
Sorry, when you get back to your mates and that,
Sorry.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So yeah. So I didn't really have that feeling of I'm singing these songs. These lot don't know about it because what mum and dad were telling me about all this, I'm chatting about J Hus, Skepta, and all that with my boys. Then we're doing our own music because dad never played no hip hop in the house. Maybe I think Stan Eminem would come on the TV and dad would leave it on. But they're not really listening to that. So we kind of forged and crafted our own identity because my best mate's from Nigeria, Tariq, and he was playing me Wizkid way back like 2014 or Ajuel by that tune. So yeah, I think it's just a mixing and match and just I never felt like it's a bit different or whatever. Yeah, I was lucky like that.
So how did you know then that you wanted to go down the kind of release and get into the kind of into the arts? I won't say to the music bit because there's a bit of a journey before getting there.
So I suppose, like I say, in the early days, mum would take me to the Geetham classes and stuff. So music was, in fact, when I was like 3, mum used to take me to this rhythm music class, and mum tells me this story about like when I was there and stuff. I used
Trying
to
to
like,
steal the credit, yeah.
yeah, but I used to like hit the pans and stuff. There's a picture of me with all the badille out in the kitchen. I was like, used to whack them around and stuff. So I think it was just kind of in and around me, and it just made sense. And then the lyrics and the poetry and the lit, and I love reading books and stuff. And I think that's really kind of marrying those two loves together.
And then like when you kind of focus on content in terms of like when you do it, like obviously was it you got into the TikTok scene? Was it fairly early on? If
Not,
I don't know.
yeah, not really. What happened there was so really before that I in university so like a couple of years ago I was delivering kind of talks on Punjabi and Sikh history here and there, specifically about recent kind of times, and that kind of public speaking and collating that information for people in a way that they could understand at Six Socks was something that I could do. Then I went to Italy to teach English, and I started making TikToks there just of my time there.
Why go? What? All right, we need to back it up then. So
I'm sorry, man.
yeah,
I feel like I'm
yeah,
all over the place.
yeah. No, it's all right. It's okay. It's like I think what's really clear is sometimes when people are going through and they look back on it, there's certain avenues that you go down, and then it's really hard to kind of piece it together because I know you had experience with Darren Saver. Exactly, I'm gonna come on to that, but like when you why go Italy?
So when I was in sixth form, I used to help teach like the SEN kids, special educational need kids in maths and things like that.
Yeah.
So because my dad's a maths teacher as well. So when I was teaching, I feel like I'm talking about my family a lot because I'm at the family home, which is good. But so from there, I kind of got that experience of teaching kids, and I find it quite fulfilling. Then when I went to when I finished my undergrad final year, I was like, well, I've got a lot of time now, a few months. I'm going to look at teaching abroad, teaching English abroad. I've got that law degree and stuff like that, and I want a free holiday basically. And so I applied to this thing, and I was putting off the interview because I had exams. I was like, I'll do the interview after. So I basically finished my exam, did the interview, and 3 days later, I was on a plane to Italy, and I was staying with different families who had their kids in the school, and yeah, it was great. So then I started making TikToks there because I was like, I'll show people what's going on and like my kind of adventures. SYL dropped at that point, and I thought, well, I've got some background on this just from my own research and stuff that I think I could share.
So Sidhu had just passed then as well, right?
Yeah. And when SYL dropped, I was in Italy, and I thought there's some context here needed about what's all this, because I thought there's going to be a lot of like my boys, for example, that sometimes ask me these kind of questions, like, oh, Beant, what's this? Because they know that from where I grew up with my family or my kind of going Sikhi camps and stuff, I've been lucky to have certain information just naturally just through osmosis just come to me. So I just made a video on that, and then I thought, well, I could just share the stuff that I was, doing at Seek Socks on videos, and that's how those TikToks kind of became something that I did. Wasn't really planned, so it just kind of happened.
What was your kind of reaction to going? Because I remember that video was one of the first ones I saw of you, and then what was the reaction that you were getting?
They didn't go too far. I think it was, my production wasn't that great then, but and it's not the best now either, to be honest. But it was positive. I realized that sometimes the information that we grew up with, other people didn't, and by sharing that, you're just helping people. So yeah, and when I go places, sometimes be at Gurdwara or whatever Desi events I go to, people come up to me and say, "Oh, Beant, your videos help me," or whatever. Yeah, and that feels good, innit? Because my parents see it as well, my family know, and other, like, my cousins and that always telling me, like, "Oh, that video is really good." It's like we're learning a lot from what you're putting out there, and yeah, I really enjoy it, to be honest. Yeah, that's why I've kept up with it for about a year.
How do you, obviously you've got like gone down the Sikhi Punjabi route in terms of like your content, but how do you know what kind of specific stuff to go in? Because especially like funny enough, it was quite kind of interesting. Like today, I was talking about social media with my kids. I was walking up to school, and I think these shorts are getting a ridiculous amount of numbers in terms of what to do, and I need to go down that line, but I haven't got time to go down to that line because we'll come up to content in a bit. But as we were watching it, like I'm watching this one guy with him, and every stunt's getting more stupid and crazier at the time. And I was trying to explain to the formula because they were like, "Oh, Daddy, you do internet. Why don't you do some of these kind of reaction stuff and all?" And I was like, I'm not in that way, because I said you always have to remember. I said, let's say somebody puts out a video and they get 1 million likes, then they're gonna think that they need to get 2 million likes for the next one.
Yeah.
The more that they do it, the more crazy, stupid stuff that they say or do, the chances of getting those 2 million increase until they do something really stupid and then get this out of trouble. So I go, you always got to remember when you're watching that's in the background. But for kids, that's very hard for them to kind of compute because they're getting really small snippets of information. The concentration levels are kind of dropped down. The content and like dealing with stuff is really complex as well. So like, it's very difficult in terms of when you're picking up content to kind of supersede and stuff like that. Because I did it when I was looking at your stuff. I was like, oh, how many plays and all these kind of things. And I was like, why don't I give a shit? And it's just a natural tendency to kind of judge someone by if they're a content creator by what their numbers get.
Yeah, I agree, and I fall into the same trap of thinking about it's a numbers game. What I tend to find pulls me out of that and brings me back to the reality of the situation is when, like I say, when I go somewhere and people are telling me their own experiences, and we talk about Amrapal, but like Kullar will tell me, he'll be like, "Yo, you don't realize the reach that you're getting." So I've only got 14K followers. It's not a lot, but because we're a small community, in the grand scheme of things, things get around quite quickly. And like my friends will be like, "Oh, my cousin sent me your video in Canada," or whatever it is. And like you say, as long as the content that I'm pushing is from what I feel is authentic, and I'm trying not to, mislead people just because, say something wild like, "Oh, this is my take, on this," even if I don't believe it, or if I'm just doing it for clicks, then I'm happy for that to go around. You know what I mean? I never want a video of mine to go around and then me feel embarrassed.
Yeah, I get that. When you see people dressed up stupidly and you think, I know you out of this, and the way that you're conveying yourself online is like a clown. It's like, what are you doing? I don't understand it, because like one day you have to look back on it, or your kids might pick it up, your nephew, niece might have a look at it, your future in-laws or something, and go, what what's going on here? I don't get it. I think But it's all for the satisfaction of a quick like or a share.
And we all love it. Like it's about purpose, right? So like I do like when my videos get a lot of views.
Mm.
But I have to always remind myself when a video only gets 2,000 views, but maybe an auntie comments or like someone comments, this was really good, keep it up, whatever. That person's taken time out of their day because they think what I've just done is useful to them. And that's a lot more useful than me doing a video where, I don't know, I do some crazy and it gets a million hits, but no one's really actually engaged and getting anything from it because they'll scroll to the next video and forget what they just saw. Whereas the idea I hope for the content I produce is people scroll, see it, maybe they'll scroll on, but then they'll think and they'll get a book or they'll research a little bit more because it is really the bare bones and the basics that I'm covering because my knowledge doesn't extend further than that on a lot of these topics.
You know, when you're creating a video, how long would it on average take you to kind of create one video?
Depends. So I tend to shoot them in batches. So the shoot time's quite small, but the edit time can take a while. It take maybe 20 minutes. It's the captions because I use Punjabi words and names
Yeah,
I can do auto caption then change it. I'd say it takes maybe 20 minutes or a minute video sometimes. Um, but then sometimes I have to research a bit more behind it just to make sure I've got my facts straight because I've said wrong things in the past before. And I'm trying not to do that. So I'm trying to keep it bare bones, basic, or use proper sources and things so I can.
Yeah, I remember seeing what like, I was going through your content, and I recognized one of my vids in there with Harvey.
That was yeah, Harvinder Paji. That's
yeah,
the goat as well.
Yeah, because I was like, when I was like, oh shit, and it was I got to read. Really, it's happened to me twice. One was when somebody I was just on my feed and a Juggy D interview, somebody had taken a bit off it and it came back to me and I was like, oh wow, that's brilliant. Then when I saw your one, I was like, oh sick, it's a very to kind of share that experience, it's a very humbling kind of experience as well.
Yeah. That was a really great episode though.
Oh, that was hard. Harvey's he's tough, man.
He's really good though. I'm really lucky that he runs those 6 study sessions. And a lot of the content that you see will be inspired by conversations I've had with him. And is partly why I do the videos. Some people say, Beant, you haven't done the right education to come on and talk about them. But he's always on the kind of viewpoint of just do things, innit? Just do things, put it out, and not in a way that it's reckless, but in a way, okay, cool. I'll try and research as best as I can. I'm not a Gyani. I don't have all, like the answers, but I'll give it a go and share what I'm learning. And that's why I've kind of kept at it even when I've made mistakes. And I'll always say, when I do make mistakes, I'll let people know that, that's actually wrong. But yeah, big up Harvey and big up yourself for that episode.
Yeah, no,
You've had some really good episodes. The Money Sundu episode was good for me on a music level.
Yeah, I was screwed on that one. I had Manny on, and then my computers. It took me months to kind of pin him down. He was this was as he's blowing and getting even on that bit. So I was like trying to pin him down. He was like knackered, and the computer let me down. Technology just let me down. So I had to kind of use a video graphic on it as well. So I will. He's assured me that I will get him back on. It's just of pinning him down. But like going back to Harvey was always one guy where I used to test my opinion, check it out, see like am I on the right kind of vibe, or is it because like he was a content creator way before like the Singh Not video. I saw someone do another version of that. I was like, bro, this was done 9 years ago, 10 years ago, and I was like, you know what I mean? So it's like, you're seeing it when the content cycle is regurgitating itself.
I think Harvey. I said this to one of my mates, Arjun. I said Harvey's probably the most influential Gursix in the kind of UK that goes under the radar, simply because his online presence in terms of those videos. Because I was watching those videos when I was like 12, 13. And then the 6 studies that him and the Sikh Education Council does. Like, I don't know if I can say, but like, I know that Frenzy done that course, and I know they're tight as well. So there's a lot of big people and people that have gained a lot of knowledge from there, and I don't think people would necessarily know of Harvey on that level. Whereas I think he's definitely had a massive impact on the UK Punjabi Sikh space as well, because he was doing Bhangra competitions way before they were massive and profitable. He got out of it right when they were taking off.
I'll never forget. I do a drugs conference in it. I used to. It's been a bit of time, and he was one of the first guys who I sent the link out to kind of share.
Yeah,
and it was bizarre because he bought a ticket, and I was like, I phoned him and I said, "What are you doing?" And he goes, "No." He goes, "You should support people because I know what it takes to do something like this." And it never clicked onto me until later on, where he goes, "You do the same for somebody else." And so that's what, and he's into his arts like massively and stuff and that as well. Yeah. Very reserved, not a kind of a champion kind of guy, but there's a lot of lessons to be learned by characters like that.
He actually reviewed my first project on SoundCloud. It's not available anymore, but I was 16 odd, and he reviewed it on Nojowan. Gave really good and useful feedback. Where kind of no one else wanted to cover it because it was like a 16-year-old who hadn't properly mixed and mastered anything. But I got a lot of love and respect for Harvey. He's taught me a lot.
So like moving into the kind of the music space and stuff as well. Yeah. Like as being an artist, knowing that you've got all these kind of, let's say, I'll just say kind of tendencies around perfection and doing it. I'll ask you a kind of a weird question to start off it. How many iterations of your EP were there?
So when you talk about perfection, I'm less of a perfectionist, and that's something I need to work on.
Yeah.
I want to get onto the next thing. Release this, record. Now, this EP had a few mix and masters. PKT, big up him. I think he did twice. But all the beat switches, they weren't in it originally. Amritpal made those after, and I love him for that because they really bring out a lot in the songs. Akara as well, there was an error in the logic file when we were recording, and I think it went down an octave, and then that kind of added to it as well. So I don't know how many iterations we have. There's another EP we recorded because Amritpal didn't like this for a bit, and he was like, he went to India, had like he was just like, we need to do better, and I convinced him, put this one out because this one's the one, and that worked, and he put it out, and yeah, that's what you listen to now. So one thing I would say is
it's rules of engagement before we start. So I'm just gonna promo it now. Rules of engagement, produced by AS Kullar, who we've had on the podcast, which I predict is gonna absolutely blow the scene up.
Yeah, 100%.
And it was your first EP as well.
Yeah.
So he's come back from India saying we need to do better, and now you've got another EP like working on or stored away.
Yeah, so he's heard Karan Ojala's EP with Ikky, bad boy EP, amazing, and he's gone, we need to up the beats and up the bars and everything. And I've gone in the studio, recorded another EP, but my Dil wasn't in it because I was like, I think the first one's better, and I'm not feeling confident now. And that EP is okay. There's one really good song on there that I think we can use, especially storytelling wise. But the rest I think was a bit whack. But I think the energy we captured on this EP is really unique because not a lot of people know, but I'm a freestyler, so I'll spit off the top. You can give me words and I'll just spit, and I've really honed that skill when I went uni, went prees and parties and this, that, and the other, and I would just freestyle off the top.
So are you like that Harry Mack? Is it, what's his name? Harry Mack?
I wouldn't say I'm that good.
Oh, he's mad.
Yeah, he's on a level, but if we link up, we'll have a little words. But this EP was written. Most of the first verses were written, especially for the first two songs. But after, for example, like on Wicked Ways, when I go click bang, from there it's a freestyle just off the top, and that means that on one hand the energy is like unmatched because it's coming off the top, and then don't get me wrong, like we'll polish it up in post, like we'll do another takes of certain words to make sure the flow is tight and everything, but most of it was off the top, and that's what you hear in the song. But that also means that lyrically, I would say the first verses on both Akara and Wicked Ways they're well written in terms of double entendres, metaphors, themes, and imagery. If you listen to Akara, for example, I'm talking about, it's got that drunk rhythm to it. So I'm talking about washed up MCs on the rocks, year's peak, and I use other kind of double entendres for ways you can have a drink. Do you know what I mean? But when it kind of switches, you get better, I would say more authentic and raw energy, but you lose some of the smart bars. And I think on the next one, what we're going to try and do is keep the bars like on a high level, but bring the energy as well, if that makes sense.
So you're going to kind of re-record the second EP then, or?
Yeah, I reckon the EP we did, I'll scrap that. In fact, I don't even know if I'm supposed to say we made another EP. I don't know, because Amritpal knows stuff in it. He knows about music, like all this rollout stuff. He like meticulously told me and like coached me through it. Like he said, delete all your Instagram posts, post this on this day, do this on that day, and like get the buzz, and it's worked, to be honest. Like
yeah, because I intermittently ring him and say what's next, because it was like because when I had him on first, he didn't do, I think that was probably his first biggest interview, like not biggest in terms of like, oh wow, it was like in terms of length in time, in terms of like kind of going deep into what he was doing. And then he said at the end, he goes, I need you to just keep on top of me in order to, because he weren't working to no schedule. So when I saw this EP come out of nowhere, I knew he's working. So like, and when I was talking to him, he said he's got a few other things, and I know when they've got a schedule in there, they can't really say. So I was like, okay, as long as he's kind of, if he's falling forward. Like I know what he's doing with that side. Do you, when you work with somebody like that, or what was some of the biggest lessons that you kind of took away through this experience of the EP?
Come correct, because I think there's with Amritpal, I learned a lot just about music, and because he's been blessed to grow up, who his dad is and things like that. He was telling me a lot about folk and stuff like that, which was invaluable to me. But I think it was. I know that in my heart, I think I'm a dope MC, and it's about showing that on every song and not getting lazy. I think that's kind of the main thing, because you don't know. It might be the first time you've heard me on this EP. All my boys know, because like I say, they'll put on beats and I'll be spitting, and they know that I've got the pen. So if I make a silly bar or a little joke thing, it's fine because they know I've got it like that. But none of the audience knows that. So I need to come correct on every song, which is why it's called Rules of Engagement as well, because this is a competitive art form. And if you're going to come step as an MC, you have to come correctly. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah, I think that's the main thing. Always proving myself and not getting complacent in terms of, well, I know I can do it, so I don't necessarily need to show on this song that I can do all these different things.
It's being a bit like football, and it's like being one match fit, but also like you could try stuff out in training, you're fine, but then when it comes to match day, it's different, isn't it? And some people are just people who are brilliant in training, and they just can't perform when it comes to kind of match day.
Good analogy. Yeah, great analogy. Yeah, so yeah, making sure that I come ready every single time, every single song, because yeah, like I say, I might release thousands of songs, and hopefully get and I'll go out of here, right? But there'll always be like a load of people that haven't heard of me. So on every song, I need to make sure that I'm coming with something that is 100% my best effort and using the best kind of lyrics and bars and delivery I can do. So yeah.
Who would you kind of like? Obviously, within this game that what you're doing around the rapping, I suppose if you're a new singer in the Punjabi industry, it's pretty easy to kind of identify who your kind of competition or who your peers are or what you're trying to strive for, because they're already boxed. But in your kind of game, so to speak, you've got mainstream who are doing it as well. Who do you consider your peers and your competition?
I wouldn't. Competition and these kinds of words, I think they're quite loaded. I would like to put myself.
That's what I was asking, because I thought, let's see what I get out of it.
I would like to put myself in the category, people like Loyal Kana, Knox, Skepta, these kind of UK artists. But I was speaking to one of my friends' aunties the other day, and whether you're a Punjabi singer, Afrobeat singer, me, a rapper, you're competing against everyone, the best. Because Ricky, why are you putting me in your playlist? I'm competing against Michael Jackson. I'm competing against Mobb Deep. I'm competing against everyone in that sense. If we're talking about listeners, and because they've got access to the whole library. So yes, you might be like, oh, Beant saying, yeah, I'm gonna put in my playlist because he's a nice guy or whatever. I like his TikToks. That's not gonna get me that far with everyone, right? So what you really are competing against, Burna Boy, Wizkid, Diljit Dosanjh, whoever people are listening to. Why would they listen to my EP over next man's, music? I don't know. I don't have the answer, but I hope people can find something that they think is unique enough to put in their playlist and to go back to again and again in my music.
I think that's probably one of the most cleverest answers I've heard, which is in terms of like, I'm competing for your playlist.
Yeah, that's what
it's not like quite easy. People can manipulate your answers and say, "Oh, ego," or whatever, but that doesn't do that because you need the attention for people to play you on their playlist and to get there, because that's the only way that you get to elevate what you're doing as well.
And it's the same with the music videos. When we were making music videos, is what is going to make me as unique and as Beant as possible with the artists that I worked with on the music videos, us and Veed and Oxboy Productions, Adesh and Uppy and Aaron and all them lads, with Dave, who really helped me out and did a sick job. Their art form and the way they make videos, if they copied Next Man, if they done the J Hus vibe, if they done the Drake vibe, it's not going to work because
I was going to come to that. The video production is excellent in the way that it's done within your concept. Is that another unavoidable headache that you've got to do, because you've got the innovation within your sound and innovation with your lyrics and the song, and then you got to find the innovation for the video being something different, and then you've got to keep repeating that as well at the same time?
I wouldn't use the word headache because it wasn't my headache. I'm so lucky, like genuinely from the bottom of my heart. And Veer Baji and Adesh, Uppy, like I mentioned, Gurdev, Aaron, they did a lot of hard work for me on both those videos. And to me, the production value, like the cinematography is so high and it's different. Like, I don't think there's, it's not the typical Vagabonde in the background, me just rapping and like mobbing with a shiesty or a bally on, because that's not Beant, innit? I mean, everyone knows I'm a law student or graduated now, but I'm not that guy. So the videos had to portray me as me, and that's why we're on Broad Street and whatever. Do my pug. That was another idea I've had for years. Do your pug and rap to camera. I never thought it'd look that good the way them man made it look sick, but I just had the idea because I was like, that's just what I do, because I rap in the mirror all the time, and I do my pug in the mirror. So I was like, this is me. This is Beant, innit? So
why an EP and not an album?
Because an album requires, in my opinion, a lot of commitment from the listener. And even an EP is a bit of a risk. We only dropped the single, Wicked Ways, a week before. And before that, only people had known me from either spitting up, Do You Want Me Forever and parties like that, or just knowing me for me as a TikTok creator or as my friend in real life. So asking of a commitment from a listener who doesn't know me for a whole album, I think is a larger undertaking than the EP. I think even the EP was in some cases that is asking a lot. I know it's only 9 minutes, front to back, but in the streaming era, I think an album would be a bit too much for people to commit to a new artist they've never heard of, never even seen before.
I mean, it's interesting because like you're seeing it on the scene now, especially in the kind of Punjabi market. Everything's EP now. All of a sudden, it went from everyone just talking about singles. It's just a single. Now everyone's putting out EPs within that way, and the stories of an album. I always believe, and I said it quite openly, that an album should be one story that's weaved in, and all the songs kind of make sense. Where I think for a long time, And even in mainstream, it was just a batch of 10 songs just stuck together, made no sense
Yeah,
whatsoever.
yeah.
And that's in it. Would that be something consciously that you'd work on, or would you still
Yeah,
kind of?
man. I'm not here to make. Well, I love, I will make singles and stuff, and hopefully another EP. But yeah, cohesive projects. Maybe one day, I've had ideas that I've got a notes page that are stacked with bars, but they're also stacked with concept album ideas and things like that. Because growing up, my favorite album was Good Kid, Mad City, really good concept album, and I want to do something like that eventually with a soundscape that complements the story and is well thought out from the jump. But for now, there's a resource problem, right? I work 9 to 5, things like that, and that was a very like pipeline kind of thing because you really have to be tapped into to make that work. Because a lot of times you can half-ass it, and I don't want to do that. You spoke about EPs being a massive thing in Punjabi kind of music right now, but they're like 8 songs, 7 songs long,
Yeah.
and
What's
you can't do that. You can't do that on actual.
what's your opinion of the current market right now?
I love it, man. The Punjabi market.
Yeah.
Yeah. So even though I make rap, I listen to mainly Punjabi music now because I kind of grew up on Kendrick, Cole, Drake, 50 Cent, stuff like that. And then as I got older, I started listening to more Punjabi music. But that, like we said, that Karan Aujla EP is bloody. It's a different level, different gravy. Ikky, different sauce. That
Yeah,
produced that.
I think he'll be the #1 producer for a long time.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. And he's young as well.
Yeah. I think he's gonna dominate it to
Yeah.
the next level.
And speaking about the Punjabi scene, we just had that True School album with Diljit, which is killer. That's a
I
really
think that
project.
yeah, I listened to that and it just blows me back to like in terms of where it is in there, and I think it's one of those albums where those people who love it will obviously keep it as a secret. It's like it's their kind of it's their track that they put out. But I also think that I don't think it's designed for the modern era as well. It's like it's one that it's a personal project within there, and so don't give a fuck about anyone else's opinion.
Yeah,
and so like it's one of those things where it's put it out. People love it from there. I ain't heard no one criticize it or nothing like that. And fair play. It's a great album.
To be honest, I disagree in terms of people like. I think the younger generation like folk music more than your generation thinks, and you can see that with Chamkila, how big those remixes are. Maybe I'm biased because my particular set of friends from Leamington Spa, we love folk, yeah, and I just think I'm biased because like the way they think and my boys think is quite unique in terms of Sikhi and all that.
But it's important what he said there. I think it's the way that you measure it is changed, isn't it? So for a long time, you might only hear the latest songs when it used to be at a wedding or on the dance floor or anything like that, right? So about 90% of those that are tracks being played on a dance floor now are 10 years old plus. The songs. So like they're consistently the same songs, just in a different order and a different beat within it. I think what's happened now is with the source of technology and with AI and things, a lot of the old school classics, you can put new beats on, and then what you're able to do is get a new collective or like audiences coming together. I think that's the way that I kind of measure it and have a look at it.
And with the AI, I think a lot of people are going then back to the originals. As I've said, maybe it's the people I chill with, No,
I don't hang around. No, no, I actually hope it's the case, because then that's what the inspiration and for the next gen. We're always gonna. It's in your natural blood to, always kind of look at your identity, your culture, to go back and have a look at where the sources come from and where it does. And then I think that's where these things will start coming more and more. God willing.
Yeah, because I mean, like you look at vinyl. Vinyl's had a massive resurgence, and people are looking at Surinder Kaur and Asa Singh Mastana, like going really far back. Narinder Bibba, things like that. Like maybe it is like I say, but I do think young people are a lot more tapped into the old stuff, and I think it's cool as well. Punjabi music like became cool, I'd say, like Amrit Maan and all that, like maybe 10 years ago or whatever. But especially with Sidhu. But folk music now, I think personally, is cool. Like is very cool, and I think that's happening across cultures. Like
Mm.
Fela Kuti and stuff. You got the Nigerian boys that they'll listen to that and like just whack it on at motive because we were all kind of clocking like there's nothing to be ashamed of in it. And I was lucky where I grew up. It never felt like that anyway. But I've noticed it in different cultures as well. People just repping their own thing, and it's working, and it's really making movements.
Yeah, I was trying to like in that brief moment remember the journey to folk. Um, and for me, it was my granddad used to have like his own like record collection.
Yeah,
I used to listen to music on his own, and then I used to go as a kid. Couldn't pick up what it was. I'll probably be able to recognize it now, but
yeah,
like I think someone like PMC when he came on and then started with 100% proof. I've said that for me that was a gateway album
yeah,
for me to kind of and then go back and explore like Mark and all of these all the classics and then
yeah,
into Junkilla when I was at kind of like just before uni and understanding what was going on. And then it comes down to your own exploration in it. Because
yeah,
at that time, the internet we didn't have as much as information around Punjabi folk music. It was who you spoke to. So if you get the right tutelage, you'll start
yeah,
discovering major things. I was speaking to a DJ, up and coming DJ, and we just managed to kind of just chill out.
yeah,
Like, he's a YouTuber and he was like putting on a track, and then I was putting on tracks not even that old that he never heard of, and I go, this
yeah,
is one of the most up and coming DJs, but the Bhangra knowledge and folk knowledge wasn't there, and I said if they knew that and were able to bring it together in the modern day, they'd be deadly. And if someone
yeah.
like yourself now, in terms of your rapping skills, having those influences and teaming up with Amrit, that's going to be that's a different kind of force to consider.
No, I agree. I think any music that you learn as a musician is gonna inform your art as a rapper, as a singer, producer, whatever it is. So yeah, definitely if you're a Bhangra DJ, probably should go back and kind of
Yeah,
learn the back catalogue out of respect. And I think even growing up, I used to think, because I've been rapping for like 10 years now, I used to think if I want to be a rapper, I should probably know like Tupac's, Discogs, like just a little bit, or like Biggie or whoever it is. And like, there's so much more to learn. But like, I remember thinking that as a kid, because Lil Yachty's and all those kind of MCs, or I guess you could call them musicians, whatever, were coming up, and a lot of Hot 97 DJs and stuff were rinsing them, saying, you don't know these artists, you haven't done your due diligence as an artist. And I think there's something to be said for that, particularly in Punjabi music, because
yeah.
we come from a lineage of artists. And I don't mean we as in me as a part of that, but I mean me as a Punjabi. Um, but I think you do owe it to your elders to learn, especially if you're in that industry, as much as you can.
When you're kind of putting together a track and stuff, how do you kind of focus it down onto what kind of issues that you should be rapping about? Is there a process that you go through, or is there something that you reflect on? Is it something that you get told to do?
Rarely told. Like Amrit never spoke about my lyrics. Um, One just little diversion. Annoying thing about Amrit is he's so hard to read, man. Compared to me, he's a very quiet guy. So I didn't know if he was liking what I was doing. But now, as our relationships kind of developed, I'm kind of clocking what he's thinking inside his head. But in terms of lyrics and bars and what I come to a track, it depends what's going on. So if I'm featuring on a track, I'll go with one of their other artists, what they've done, and focusing on them. And that's when sometimes my most focused work comes from because they've given me a theme and I'll stick to it. Whereas I'm always writing. So if a beat comes on, I'll look through my notes for a verse that might fit. or I'll write to the beat if I think the beat's, demands a whole new, fresh thing, or I've had something on my mind. There's no set formula, to be honest, for me. Like I say, I'll freestyle the second verse a lot on this EP, and that comes across. But yeah, I don't really have a formula of approaching music and approaching songs. It usually, sometimes I'll sit there and nothing will come out. And sometimes I'll write 3-4 songs in a day or whatever. It's really up in the air. Like, it just depends.
Because like Audula and Sindhu especially kind of set the pace in terms of how quickly songs get kind of written. Do you feel the pressure to be as fast and as good as that, or were you kind of content in your own way and your own formula?
I can make a lot of songs quickly. Quality of the songs, I don't know. What different galundia. But I don't feel the pressure. I want to hit the ground running. So I want to have, not holding myself to this, but in the next few months, hopefully you'll hear from me again, and there'll be another at least single or something. Because I've been working. There's hard drives full of songs, and again, the quality's like, I don't know. That's up to the audience to decide. But I've been writing. I've been recording. The hard drive sitting, Google Drive, songs here, there, and everywhere, old emails, whatever. Since I was like 14, 15, and in the music class. So I don't feel the pressure because I'm always recording, and I do think, and I guess the pressure. I don't feel the pressure because I want to keep releasing now. I think the first project was a bit, this one was a bit nerve wracking because it's like, how's it gonna go? I haven't done one. You're thinking all this in your head, but drop it. That's just drop, and let the market see how they feel about it.
What kind of feedback have you had? Has there been anyone in particular who's reached out, which is like, oh my God, that's really blown my mind, or anything?
Don't want to put like names out there, but Punjabi producers and people that I really look up to have given me really positive feedback. Some that I've kind of had or starting to have a relationship with, and some that I just never knew I'd be on their radar. People I grew up listening to and stuff. I've got in contact, and said they're really, really messing with it. I've been kind of blown away by some of the comments I've received, on it, and I do think a lot of that is Amrapal's like skill as a producer and PKC's mixing and stuff. They made it sound amazing, but yeah, I've been gassed. I can't lie. People reaching out because there's one thing you listen to something, but then to DM someone or to get in contact with them is another thing. Do you know what I mean? And I was at a shoot yesterday, and a lot of the older people, were showing me props as well. And I know that there's a bit of a generation divide in terms of lyrics, and your generation appreciates them a bit more. So when I'm hearing that people, rate this song or that song, yeah, it means a lot. And my mum likes it, which I was surprised about. Mum was bumping it in the kitchen. My brother sent me a video, so yeah, that's always nice to see.
Yeah, number one supporters. If they don't, then no one's gonna. You're gonna hold them down to it. I just want to kind of pick up on one thing in terms of like one of the real kind of limits of an artist as well, especially in this day and age, which is around resources, which is like you kind of seen some of the artists come out who are now directors of videos, content creators, and I kind of said it tongue in cheek with I just done a podcast with Nick Jolia from Vancouver.
Yeah,
and I was just saying to him about like how the new artists are not, maybe it was a bit tongue in cheek, and I pretended like I didn't mean it, but I kind of slightly mean it. Like a lot of the newer artists now are more content creators rather than artists and singers.
Yeah.
What's your opinion on that?
Well, taking me out of it because I guess I'm literally a content creator.
Not really, because like at the end, in terms of what you're doing, and you're not like. What I mean by it is like if you're a newer artist now, if you're putting something out, you've got no skill, right? Let's say your only skill and your talent is singing. That's the only thing that you've got. It's a very important thing, core thing. But you don't have to make a video. You don't have to do that. You could be spending up to 5-10 grand per video or song that you're putting out, and you're outlawed. You're getting marginalized because of the resource game.
I'd like to think that quality content always finds a way, but I don't think that's true. There's too many dope MCs, even ones that are killer like MF Doom and stuff that I don't think got their due. You know what I mean? So I don't think it's true that quality music or quality artists will always get their shine. I would say just you have to try and learn. And if you can't learn, network. And that doesn't mean, people talk about network, in my professional life, network, and I think people have an idea that it's like kissing ass and stuff. It's not. It's an even exchange, in my opinion. So I like to think, well, while I know I'm a new artist, I like to think people like yourself who are giving me an opportunity to speak are doing it because that you think there's something I can offer. Does that make sense? Because you think it'll be an interesting conversation as opposed to giving me a handout. Do you know what I mean? Like, so if you're an artist, come to other video. So like the people that made my video, the Oxboy team and stuff, they said that they're gassed to put this in their portfolio because they said I'm good on camera. So if you're good on camera, if you can sing and make like them want to record you and put it in, do you know what I mean? They've done me a massive favor. Like 100%, it's imbalanced in my view, like massively. They've done me a huge favor by doing the video. But you make sure you're giving them something in it. Make the video sick, like perform, like rap, whatever you do. Like don't be boring in it. Don't be stiff. Don't be them Punjabi singers that just stand there like this and do that that motion they always do. Like do something in it. Like show yourself you're unique and definitely just network. And when you then get resources, when those videos pop off, and if they do, get the same people, and build with your team. I think that's the main kind of thing I would say. But I'm no one to kind of give advice.
No, I think it's really important. I think it's really important because like when we had this conversation and we like wanted to do it in person, and I was like, the resources required to do that, like it's hard when you're doing your stuff on your own. And I see other people where they've rented out studios. If a guest doesn't turn up, you have to still cover that cost. They, regardless of what they're saying, they're making money off it. It's so difficult. And then there's one like the social media persona and the reality of it, that everything's getting eaten in terms of money. And for an artist, like if you're a singer, upcoming artist, it's even worse because you've got to take that roll, that dice that this song's gonna make it. If it doesn't, you're 10 grand down the shitter after everything, and then you're gonna get pressure from the family saying, "Oh, we needed that money to do this. We've gambled it on there. You're not getting the bookings." And I think there's a faster route of making it, but even faster one of going down like it was before. You had time and grace to kind of develop an artist. I think now people are almost wanting the 90%, 95% finished product.
You're right. People want, like we say, you're competing against everyone, right? They're not gonna give you the time of day if your videos aren't on that level of J-Hus or whatever else they can see on YouTube. So that I think I'm lucky because I'm so young. I don't have a family to look after. Now I work, so don't get it twisted. Like any bits of money that going into this project come off of my own back. I've got no like. My parents helped me a lot during university and stuff, and Bibi Baba and all of that. But like when it comes to music, that's just me, right? So I suppose save up and be wise. I think people pay 10 grand for a video or whatever. Get 10 grand worth of. I don't think the video is worth 10 grand personally, unless it's some next video. And think about how you could then use that 10 grand. If you've got 10 grand to spend on a project, don't do it on the music video. Do it on marketing. A lot of that budget needs to go on marketing and production quality of the actual music.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, people are going to listen to the music, right? Now, again, I'm not one to give advice, but I do think there's ways you can be smarter about your money and think about how to absorb, like make the most of every pound that you spend on things. And like I said, I've been lucky. People have done me favors, like the music video Ali, they've done me massive favors, and I get not everyone can do that. So maybe what I'm saying is just bullshit. I don't know.
No, I think it does make sense because like if you've got like some the best product and it's not you could have the best restaurant, the best shop, or anything. Oh, you just flip it. There you go. You can have the best of everything, but like if you can't market it correctly, it doesn't mean anything, can it? It's like, and that takes a lot of kind of resource and dedication within it now. I mean, I even with the podcast, I'm like,
Yeah,
I can't work TikToks and doing all cutting all the stuff from there. I just have to produce it, final cut, and then I use the same consistency. I use the same video on all the platforms because I know people use different things. But
yeah.
it's not like it's not mad numbers. It's not like obviously you get high numbers and other people from there, but like I'm lucky. It's not my canopina and stuff like that. And but I try and you got to try and show respect to people who are coming out on their journey. Like God willing, you will explode, and we probably won't ever have this conversation again. You know what I mean? But
Don't say that.
it's
No.
catching people at the right time. But the advice wise, you know, I've had an artist on here who I've interviewed and he's been trying and blah blah, and they just haven't had the luck of it. And tell him to kind of learn that skill. And you know, I feel really sorry for him at the same time. Whereas you've got some of the experience with TikTok and how to do all that stuff and production quality. You know, some people getting marginalized before they even start.
I think my TikTok videos, I always say the production is rubbish. I just talk to camera and put captions
Yeah,
on it. Ahmed Bad thinks that's, I've got I know what I'm doing. I really disagree. But I think first thing I want to say in terms of your numbers are sick because someone told me once, you get I think roughly about 2,000 views on every, without fail on your YouTube
yeah,
video,
roughly around there.
and you're doing an hour-long podcast. Put 1,000 people in a room, watch you and X man talk or Y man talk, whoever it is. Then you're suddenly thinking, "Raw, I've got 1,000 Bundy that are here, right? A
Yeah,
thousand people is
it's
a lot.
mad. It's
We're
mad.
on YouTube, we're on social media spaces, not realizing 100 people is a lot. If 100 people are locked into you, you got a forge, man. You got a little forge going on there. Do you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah,
Our
it's crazy.
perceptions change because we're on internet all day. But going back to artists that I do feel sorry for them, and it's a shit feeling when you drop something and it doesn't get numbers.
Yeah,
Goes back to the purpose. Why are you doing it? You have to ask yourself in every facet of life. What number one? What am I doing here on a deeper philosophical level is another question. But why am I making music? Am I doing it so I can be the next Drake? And when I was a kid, when I was like 15, I had this idea I was going to be mad famous and all this. Like Niane doing it. I was like, I want that. I want to be the guy. And then as I got older, maybe 17, 18, I started deep in. I was like listening to the interviews, reading the books. Bruv, I always used to think, like Stormzy said it once, he goes like, I'm just at the yard on a 10 a.m. on a Tuesday. All my boys are 9 to 5 working. You're Kullar, bro. It's a hard life. It's not easy. Oh yeah, he gets loads of pesa. Pesa gets you good until a certain point. I'm lucky, with the degree and everything, things are all right. So do I need loads of pesa? Probably not. If I want it, it's greedy, innit? If I want eyes on me and attention, what is underneath that? Like, why do I want that? As a 15-year-old, it's because you don't understand the world and you want attention, innit? Like ego and all that. But when you start getting older and older, why do you want the attention? Why do you want the number? You have to think, like, what are you doing it for? And like, it's something, we love clout. Everyone does that. I'm not saying I'm outside of that, but it's intentional thinking. Like, well, it's not about numbers. It's about, for me personally, so those orders, and it's still ego, but the orders and the producers and people messaging me saying, Beant, wow, like, this is really good. I really like it.
let's say you're into your career, and then I see you, and then I'm gonna say to you, how do you know you made it?
In terms of music, I would say I can do this and not worry about doing what I do now, like professionally. This sustains me. I think then I would be like, yeah, I've reached a goal. In terms of music, like the goal of the best song, that's forever something I wouldn't say chasing, you're reaching for, and but it's always elusive, right? The best album, the best song, the best lyric, the best bar, you're never gonna get it because there's always something better and you can always do better. But in terms of in a holistic sense, I think if it starts paying me enough where I can just be like, yeah, I can do this. But then, like I say, do I want that? Do I want to not have the stability and things like that? Because I do enjoy the stability of getting a paycheck every month, work, getting up a certain time, being able to navigate my life like that. Like, sounds boring, but a lot of people don't have that. And do I want the chaos and the mire and the next things that come with, this ego? Like, my ego is big anyway. Man, going beyond the beat. I don't know if I could handle that. Like if I was
I actually was impressed because it was the email he sent was one of the most politest emails around. I thought, this is quality. So like it was something like that. Because I do get people saying, "Oh, interview me." And I was like, I don't think you listen to what I do. Like it's like, you know what I mean. I'm not like the BBC. I'm not like doing it from there, and it's people who I'm genuinely interested in, and then it's like convince me. Then in it, in that way, where it's like I'm not. I think there's different motivation, but I think what you said in terms of sustainability is probably the best one within it. Actually, with this being the bandwagon, is there a bandwagon that you would like to jump on or jump off, or is this is the space where you can get something off your chest? This is your kind of arena now.
Very random, yeah.
I'm not sure I understand.
Oh, Siri, you didn't understand it as well. Go.
Very random, but can please people stop telling me to wear like triangle pug? I'm happy with my gold pug, yeah.
Okay,
let me wear the pug I want to wear. Yeah, I got my jura at the back. I don't put it at the front. Yeah, maybe one day I will. Some people say you're supposed to put it at the front and things like that. Tika, just let me do the pug I want to do. That's the bandwagon I want to hop off. Telling Singhs, and usually to be fair, it's mostly Singhs telling other Singh. I'm not going to do the more not saying thing, but stop telling me what pug to wear. That's my thing.
That is probably one of the most unique bandwagons that we had from it. So you get bug beef and that for it.
Is it every day since I was a kid? Yeah, I like a gold bug. It's comfy. It's comfy. It doesn't look like it doesn't look super smart. And when I have to do graduation or work some days, I wear the bug that everyone knows, that colonial triangle. Yeah. But I get it. I'd say I get it too often that it came up. That I thought about it. I was like, yeah, that's something that actually. And it's never deep. It's just like I'm tired of telling people.
Is there some consistent now of obviously in the music scene, images almost everything as well at the same time. So is there a particular style that you're just going to stick to, or you're just going to evolve? Especially,
I think the gold bug looks good with the clothes I wear and as an artist, but it's what I wear day to day. Like I just tie this bug, and people say you should wear a bigger bug, you should do this bug, you should do that bug, do your jewelry like this, bruv. Yeah, just allow it. I'm not here for that. That's just long. I'm lucky that it doesn't come up that often. But some people say in my comments as well, we're a proper bug. What does that mean? What's a proper bug? So yeah.
I can't say I respect it. Anyone who's wearing a bug, man, at the end of the day, especially in these times, it's very, very hard to openly admit you practice faith and you do it, and so in any faith that people are doing it, man.
I'm out of that conversation because there's the proper things on another level, but the Ikky is a gift, man. So people that are doing it, and
it's not a bit music. Something you've looked at, gonna continue on, or
so that Dharam Seva thing we did was quite an introspective project and quite it was quite different in terms of the song. I'd love to do like a read. I got a vinyl from Punjab with Harvy Mander with Banda Singh Bahadur. That one? I can't remember what it's called now. And yeah, I'd love to do like an English kind of rap, but without making it cringe and hitting you over the head. I've recently recorded a song that's about recent Punjab kind of history, and you'd only know if I told you, because it's quite subtle and stuff like that in my lyrics. I want to explore more. When I was a kid, I used to just hit people over the head with it, this is about I don't know, jealousy or whatever it is. But now I don't think that helps. I think weaving Ikky into your art in ways that it weaves itself into my life is more authentic to me. Because Ikky's everywhere in my life, the blessings that it's given me. But it's not always identified as that. Does that make sense? And I think
Yeah.
that's kind of come through in the art. Then here and there there'll be bars that are bait like on Brown Geezers, I say real sick soldiers, distant from posers, stuff like that. That's just that warrior lineage, which is also the rules of engagement comes from. We're from that warrior background, so this is also a nod to that.
So from one battlefield there into another battlefield that's closing within this one, I just want to say a big thank you for joining on it. Apologies, it's taken a bit of a while than it would have with the traveling. So thanks, man. I really appreciate it taking time, and I wish you all the best on your journey. If anything you need in terms of like helping pushing it, then just please say so.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I do really appreciate you having me on. Yeah, it's been really good, man. Thank you.
Cheers, bro. Cheers.
Safe.